All right, back again. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ox and the Rat. I'm your host, the Ox.
And I'm the Rat.
You are indeed with your prestigious rat voice, pizza rat-esque voice. So what's new since we last talked?
Well, this is a back-to-back day, 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. So, not a lot's changed. I had some, I will describe, I guess, as nasi goreng, maybe. Some, like Malaysian, I think it's fried rice, or maybe that's the noodles, but anyway, Malaysian fried rice. It's not a food that you usually eat that often, but pretty good. Kind of fish sauce heavy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the sauce-heavy stuff anymore, but I loved Malaysian, Indonesian food. That was so fantastic. I spent a good amount of time in, I guess, the island of Borneo. We had some interesting adventures, eh? Remember the kingdom of, I can't even remember it right now. The kingdom of Brunei. What a strange decision.
I always forget
so weird
that we actually went there.
I know. It was weird. A dry country, right? So there's no alcohol. Remember the first day, like they had some cool things, and then one day in there you're done.
Well,
right? You had to take a boat. How did we get there? We took a boat from Kota Kinabalu, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to an island off the coast, which is like the halfway, where all the Bruneians buy their alcohol before going into alcohol and cigarettes and stuff, before going back into the kingdom. And you remember there was like different, when we got there were different like entry points depending on who you were. Like if you were a Bruneian, they'd check you differently because you couldn't bring any alcohol, right? And if you were like an expat, you could go through and you could carry X amount of alcohol in.
Yes, we opted not to. I think you wanted to, but I was like, kind of drank out at that point.
Yeah.
But let's do a small recap because it wouldn't take too long.
No.
We pulled up, went to Starbucks. The guy gave us a lift to our hotel.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what we did next, but we ended up doing like a river cruise to this jungle walk.
That was a rough one for me.
Yeah,
there's a whole side story that I have that we'll keep off the air.
Yeah, but for the first time, I was glad that I didn't go out and drink because I was enjoying that ride and you were just dying the whole time.
I enjoyed it. It's just that I had the same.
Well, your head was down.
I was obviously hungover. I was hungover.
Kind of
lackluster. I mean, I got like 1 hour of sleep. I don't even know how I found the place. I remember that was a nightmare because like nothing was running.
Oh right.
And I was out in the middle of it, and I was like, I don't know how to get there. I had to take a bus in Brunei, a Bruneian bus. Couldn't understand the schedule. It's like asking locals and stuff. They couldn't understand me, and like got back into the city, quote unquote, Dar es Salaam. I don't know. It is Brunei City.
I don't remember.
It had like a different name. That was crazy. Yeah, and then so like somehow got to the hotel lobby where we were meeting, and like yeah, I was rough. Like I only had like 2 hours of sleep maximum, and yeah. Woo, that was crazy. And but I had also been on a jungle cruise.
Yeah.
Before I had a crazy one because I'd been up the I can't remember the river, but went right into the rainforest with an old flame in I think the year before. I lived in like a rainforest or an eco lodge in the middle of the rainforest for like a week. So it wasn't like totally new to me. We do have pictures, and I did enjoy the canopy trek. That was fun.
Yeah, I made a little video montage out of that, and then next day, I guess, we ended up going to this crazy hotel which is like
Oh yeah.
basically the only thing you can do there. It's an amazing place, amazing pool, nice beaches, just no alcohol. So
That's
you're just
fun.
drinking like milkshakes.
Lots of coffee. They got the Huisel coffee, right?
Yeah. Overall, pretty good. I mean, could use some alcohol, but Brunei, interesting. Probably not many
Yeah,
people have gone there.
well, that palace, that hotel was just enormous. It was so huge, and it's owned by it was owned by one of the king's sons,
Brother.
right?
Or something.
Brother or something like that. And like we weren't supposed to go in there, obviously, but we just walked through, and it was like, oh, okay, now we're in here. We're enjoying, like, they had the waterfalls and the private little alcove beaches that they had built around the thing. So we were like swimming in the ocean. Then you go back in, hot tub, all like dozens of pools.
Yeah, insane pool. You could like kayak on the pool. It's huge.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. I think what? No, we didn't. We didn't kayak, I don't think. Anyways, yeah, that was a good time. Very very interesting, and a good apostrophe to put on that trip. Where else did we go? It was Kota Kinabalu and there, right?
Basically, the boat ride was a little long, and then while we started, it was bookended by a trip to Seoul. So.
Oh yeah, that was Korea. That's a pretty solid trip. Korea, Kota Kinabalu, Kingdom of Brunei, back to Korea, and man, Korea, that one opened my eyes. I just love Korea so much. One of my favorite places on the planet.
And
sure.
What was the time? 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks. It would have had to have been to accommodate all that. Something like that, yeah. You, I think you, like, missed your flight or something.
No. Did I?
There was something about that, like, or you almost did. There was something about your trip, for sure.
Maybe it was that trip. I can't remember. There's 2 trips. One where I missed it because of the wrong name, which I think we talked about already on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then another one, the flight was canceled. Like, we were on the plane, about to take off, and they're like, "Oh, it's canceled." So I had to stay an extra day.
I wasn't there for that one. That wasn't me.
That was out of Korea.
God, I love that country. Yeah, imagine if it was not separated or split in half.
Yeah.
That would... Powerhouse, man. Love that place. Well,
maybe.
Anyways, for me, of course, following up from last time, I'm just about to move in to a new place tomorrow. It begins. It's just crazy. Packing up last night. Feeling pretty good. I don't feel like I have... I remember like leaving the last country I lived in, and I was like, I don't understand how I have this much stuff, and like trying to sell everything off with like my pastime while I was gearing up to leave the country. And like now I'm like, it's pretty good. Like I don't have too much furniture, a few boxes, feeling pretty good. You know what the one thing is? Books. I really want to get a Kindle. I don't want to have all these frickin' books.
No.
Yeah.
It's a waste. Waste of a box.
A waste of space. Anyways, let's get moving. What say ye?
Ye say yes.
Good. All right. So this fable is called The Young Crab and His Mother.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So, why in the world do you walk sideways like that? Said a mother crab to her son. You should always walk straight forward with your toes turned out. Show me how to walk, mother dear, answered the little crab obediently. I want to learn. So the old crab tried and tried to walk straight forward, but she could walk sideways only, like her son. And when she wanted to turn her toes out, she tripped and fell on her nose. And then a seagull came down and pecked her to pieces. I added the last sentence. But you imagine, crab falling on I assume the crab on its back, and it's like flailing around. Foolish crab.
Not much of a nose.
Do you want to guess? Yeah, exactly. Do you want to guess this one?
Don't try to be something you're not.
There's a tell aspect to this. Do you want to incorporate the verb tell?
Don't tell me to try to be something I'm not.
Yeah, it's do not tell others how to act unless you can set a good example. Love this one. Really, really big fan of this moral, and I think that we could all learn something from this. But you, perhaps, can get started, because I already have tons on my mind I want to say about this.
So basically the moral is do as I say if I can do well.
Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk.
Yes.
Don't be a hypocrite.
Hypocrite. Yeah. Well, I can't think of much off the top of my head, but I guess we always can go back to relationships. And I don't know. There's a lot of times in mine where I'm annoyed about something, maybe rightly or wrongly, but I think that, I'm in the correct position within the argument or disagreement or action that took place. But perhaps maybe I am also at fault for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm too sensitive about certain stuff, and I would like my partner to be less sensitive too. So I think we both are. So I guess if I can be less sensitive, or if I can't be less sensitive, then I shouldn't be, angry that she also is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. From my perspective, yeah, I mean, relationships for sure. Don't tell others how to act. I'm trying to live that way. I sometimes am a bit of a hypocrite, but I think I just try not to get angry or react to too many things. I don't like when people. First, I get really angry. Let's put it that way. When people tell me, like, when I perceive hypocrisy, maybe whether it's right or wrong. So when a partner, for example, would say something like usually it's a passive aggressive thing, right? So they don't actually tell you; they just feel the anger in the air, or it's a comment. It's like, that was a little harsh, And then it turns out that it's like, you're always doing this. You're always doing that. It's like, well, hold the fuck on. Like, you do that too, but I just choose not to make it an issue. That's an approach thing.
So letting things slide sometimes can backfire.
Oh God, yeah.
Because then you are like counting them. All right, I'll let that slide. And if you keep letting it slide, then it keeps happening. And then if they call you out on it once and then twice, then it seems like you've done it twice and they've done it 0.
Yeah. Yeah, the relationship thing is always tricky. There's always some kind of, that passive aggressiveness and like keeping score. I try not to. It just bothers me when I see it's like, okay, I've done all of these things. You've not done any of these, anything to work on that, for example. So how can you tell me what I'm supposed to do right now? But moving away from that, the obvious ones are everywhere. Like, don't. I always get angry on here with like self-righteous vegans, for example, right? I'm pretty omnivorous. I'm a carnivore-ish diet. An exception to that would be beer. I just love beer. That certainly goes against the carnivore-based diet. But it's not like I don't eat. I won't eat things. I'm not religious about it. I was for a little while, but that was more a test for myself. I really like an experiment to see the the difference, and it's pretty amazing. And if you hear people talk about the carnivore diet and how it's healing this, that, or the other thing, I'd say believe it and try it for yourself before you question it. Is it a long-term thing? No. But like the thing about when diet becomes a religion, for example, like hypocrisy inevitably comes in. You know, people talk about, I got angry on somebody on LinkedIn and I should have known better, but it was worth pointing out because this guy's like sort of like an influencer sending out one of those live my best plant-based life out there. It's like, why not, instead of politicizing it, why not just say eat real food? You know, like that's a way better way of looking at things. It's not political, right? Eat real food, not plant-based life. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? And let's talk about all the costs associated with it, right? People are so blind to it when they say, oh, you know, beef is murder. It's like, so is everything. Literally everything. You know, you walk down the street, you kill things, right? You kill life. You drive your car to work, you're contributing to pollution. But there's one narrow band that you think, like, because I eat grains, I'm not killing anything, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You are contributing to monocrop agriculture. You're contributing to fertilizer runoff, and any number of issues related to biomass killing, right? Not just the displacement that's caused by converting land to agricultural purposes, but everything that's killed by the harvesting and the planting of grain, the tilling of the soil, etc. It's a cost. And I just hate that, you know? How dare you eat meat? How dare you eat anything then, right? Let's all just die. Like, let's all just die so we can be as pure as possible. Nobody is. And everybody should remember that. You know, it's not about like no cost, it's about what cost. And there's always one. For something to live, something else must die. That's not a negative message. That's your fucking life. Like, you know, so there's my daily rant for you. But I mean, it's just so obvious. And people are insane for saying that they're better or they're like better than you because they eat differently. You know, let the results speak for themselves, man. If you're being a vegan and you're like super healthy long term, because again, there's no science that says that you can get all your nutrients just without supplementing on a vegetarian diet or vegan diet, I should say. Right? Great for you, man. If it's a moral argument, cool, but remember the other side of it. And don't lecture people about it. Don't fucking lecture people about it. Inform people. That's not the same thing, right? Are you a good example when you are contributing to the same things, when you're being a hypocrite? No, man.
Yeah. Everybody has a bully pulpit, and they just have to say something that somebody else should follow, it seems. So that piggybacks on our last episode of letting go of social media to some degree, because that is a lot of what's on there. It's like, do this, do that. It's not good to be apathetic either, but in some ways, you know, ignorance is bliss. And you can't care, unfortunately, you can't care about every single thing that goes on. You're just going to get consumed. You're going to have too many filberts in your mind of care. You got to let go of some things. And being plant-based, I don't know, that might be one on the list of things to care about.
It's a religion, right? It's a cult. Sam Harris did a great start of the year episode. One of my favorite thinkers. And he talked about, like, if you think the following, you are in a cult. If you think this, you are in a cult. And he really, he challenged some notions that I have, and that's really important too. If I want to set a good example for others, part of that, and I'm talking here about, like, listening to both sides, then I actually need to listen to both sides. So I try to put myself in a position where I'm doing that. Uncomfortable truths, right? When we were talking about zone of proximal development the other day, getting technical. I'm not learning if I'm hearing the same things over and over again. There's a point of diminishing returns to it. And it can be useful, for example, if it's repetition about factual information. Like if I'm learning more about, let's say, I don't know, I'm like building on my existing knowledge of kettlebell techniques, right? I mean, that's useful up to the point where it's like, well, I haven't learned anything here. Maybe it was 1%, and that's kind of useful. But like, it's not the same when it comes to politics. Because with politics, like, you get a side, you get it, then you keep hearing the same side, and that's just reinforcing a view that changes the way you see everything else, right? That's different. It's not equivalent when it comes to ideology versus factual information. I think there's some carryover, but
yeah, the facts are important. I think it should be. I mean, people maybe should switch to less preachy mode and just throw out facts and be like, last year, 9 billion grasshoppers died because of whatever crop harvesting. You put a stat out there, and then whatever, you could think what you want of it. Don't tell me to think that's good or bad, but there you go. You got the information.
I actually like that idea. Literally just posting facts, like undeniable facts. If you can reduce it to something like that, oh man, can you imagine just doing that regularly on it? That would be an interesting social experiment, right? Like if you just put out an unwashed truth, you just put it there. I have so many ideas about what would happen. Like people, because you had no intention, right? But people would read into an intention.
Yeah.
And they would say, oh, how dare you? Like, I could just imagine that. That's a really cool idea, actually.
I don't know if that's in my subconscious, but part of it is because of news is like, so biased on either side these days. And it's all clickbait, like look at what they did, all this stuff. So getting back to just saying facts and letting people decide how they feel. But as I was saying that, I was reminded of this. I think she's a journalist, but I can't remember which organization she's with. But Iraqi woman, maybe from the UK. Anyway, that's kind of what she does. She does art or like graphic design and just basically puts out charts and different things of. She might have like a message that she's trying to kind of get across, but she just puts out like facts and charts and information and data in a graphic kind of image.
There's the facts, and then there's the editorializing of them, right? So that's really interesting. Or posting one thing over the in the absence of other data. But I think that, yeah, like you're saying, the real problem is the editorializing. So that would be really interesting if a social experiment. I may try that. I'm gonna marinate on that, like I marinate on many things. Because I was like talking about getting rid of Facebook, and I'm like more and more convinced that like I just don't want it. But that might be an interesting use of it.
Well, here's what I would do: is take that. You could do that opportunity and do a little graphic design experimentation, and I would create just like a second or third, if you have one, Instagram account where nobody knows you, where they can just argue and blah blah blah, but just post it. You just put it out there. It's essentially kind of what I did with one of my Instagrams, doing these graphic designs about issues in Canada, and then I just post essentially, data that I saw or an article that I saw. Like say one was about deforestation. I put the information underneath the graphic design was like how long it takes for what do you call it, old growth forests to grow back, like how many years until the ecosystem is back to where it was.
Yeah, that's like cool.
40 years or something, 60 years.
I like that. And that would be, I would that and maybe job, because that's stuff that's more relevant to my career would be job aids and stuff like that. Working, that's an interesting entry point, because I'm always like, oh, this is great. I was saying the other day, I got this graphics tablet. I can't use it because it sucks and it doesn't work. And they're like asking me after I post a video of it not working and stuff, go through all their stupid hoops. They're like, okay, well, it's a pen problem and we'll send you a new pen. Unfortunately, you have to pay shipping. And I was like, you mother, effers. Like, I sent like such a tersely worded response to that. And I was like, are you telling me you're going to make me pay for something that doesn't work in the first place? That was a Christmas gift. And I was like, hell no, give me a refund. And, oh, surprise, surprise, they're going to pay the shipping. Like, what a disingenuous bunch of, man.
Well, I had a similar...
Obviously, sorry, just to finish that, the thing that really gets me is, like, it's very clear that they could have always paid the shipping. Mm-hmm. So what the hell are you doing in customer service trying to get 13 Canadian dollars back, trying to squeeze somebody? Like, oh man, unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I have two examples of that, I guess. One, my ex and I were living in Victoria, and she went into the bank, and they're like, sorry, you got to pay these withdrawal fees at her ATM. And she didn't have much money in the bank, so it's a big hit to her bank account. And then I walk in there, and I had, not tons of money, but I had a decent amount. And I'm like, all right, can I talk to somebody in the back, instead of the tellers? And then they bring us back, and then you kind of imply, like, maybe I'll do some investing here. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, we can wipe those for your girlfriend. We could get rid of those charges. No problem. And the other one, more related to yours, these guys are kind of messing with me. I ordered something, I'm living abroad, and I ordered something from Australia, which got delivered but was never notified. Like, they kept on attempting to deliver it, and I was at work every time. And then they sent it back to Australia. And I think for like 8 months, I kept emailing the pharmacy, David Jones's pharmacy, I think. I kept emailing. I'm like, where's my money? Where's this product? What the hell is going on? Like, this is ridiculous. I kept emailing, nothing happens. And then finally, I looked up the Better Business Bureau in Australia. And I'm like, I wrote a letter. I'm like, I'm going to be sending this letter to the Better Business Bureau complaining about your business because you're just stealing my money. You didn't send me the product, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden when I said that, they're like, oh, sorry, we'll get right on that. A day or two later, I got my refund back.
Yeah, I've done that many times. And it's like, did we have to do this? Like, was your business... Like, what kind of a business model do you have if this is the difference between success and failure for you, right? I mean, it's just poor business. It really is. I mean, if you've ruined your reputation, you've acquiesced in the end, and today especially, right? Like, you can't get away with that stuff, because one part of the thing I wrote back to them was, this is going on YouTube. If you don't get your act together, oh, now it's important. Like, big surprise. You have to threaten an organization. So you want to set a good example, right? You want to talk about like how much you care about. Well, what's this company's? So let me grab this here. What is their motto? Create more, create different. Well, you've created more anger, and you've given me a different impression of you. Qui-Gon. Garbage. Anyways, hopefully the new pen works, because I just want to get started. I just want to start using something like that. Whatever, man. But yeah, I like the idea of the graphic design and just putting facts out there. Setting a good example by not politicizing things, getting back to that moral. Don't tell others how to act. I don't think I'm a hypocrite in really any other major way. I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody else who knows me, though. Speaking of hypocrites, the Republicans. Here's a great one. I love right-wing thinkers, or ideologues, or just let's just call it right-wingers, right? Conservatives, that's a better word, right? Who talk about small government, and this is everywhere, mainly the United States, but like just anybody who talks about being a conservative, the need for small government, right? The night watchman state. So government's only there to protect us from harm and stuff. Get out of my business. It's like, you benefit from so many government handouts. You just don't call them that, right? So you're a hypocrite if you're, let's say, a Republican lawmaker in the United States calling for lower payouts for COVID relief, for example, but at the same time arguing for greater military spending. You're just moving money from one pot to another. That's the same thing. Freaking hypocrites, man. Or like classic example, right? In the United States, you know that the senators, congressmen, politicians get great medical benefits. While meanwhile, like you can go bankrupt just for having an accident. That's crazy. And then a Republican lawmaker again will probably say, "Oh, this is big government takeover, Medicare." It's like, "Oh, that's real convenient." You know, that you have something that you're saying other people shouldn't have, and you get to decide for them. Like, man, people do it all the time.
Yeah. I was reading that Obama, who knows, his wife is a lawyer, and he was a politician, or was it a lawyer? I don't know.
He was a lawyer too, or had a legal background, and then he was a politician. Yeah,
I think maybe it was when he started politics or when he became president. Anyway, they had about their net worth was like 1.3 million apparently. So I'm sure they had some decent healthcare too. So if these guys are getting around that kind of salary, then yeah, of course they don't really mind with healthcare and benefits.
Yeah, but that was somebody with some scruples. Like, he actually tried to give Medicare to everyone, right?
Yeah,
so that's an example of walking the walk.
Yeah, on that at least didn't really walk it.
Yeah, on that. But yeah. Anyways, it's been a crazy couple days. Let's wrap it up. I mean, we went way over time last time, talking about this moral: do not tell others how to act unless you can set a good example. Walk the walk. If you're going to talk the talk, 100%. I mean, can't even argue with this one.
Yes, I would agree. Sorry about my incoherentness. A little sleepy here and parched throat.
Uh-oh. You've got the vid.
Nah, just from talking, I guess.
Well, next time we meet, folks, I will have moved and hopefully set up in a little bit more of a less noisy environment, out of the basement and into the frying pan. We'll see. But until then, it's adios, and thanks for listening. Give us a like if you've just joined, or even just give us a comment. Write something that tells us what you do like, what you don't like. Is there anything you'd like us to talk about more? Maybe you'd like us to talk a little bit less. I don't know. Maybe you'd like to see our faces. I don't think that's going to happen, but leave us a comment.
Yeah. some information would be nice to see if we're doing a good job or a bad job. We can always improve. And yeah, we don't get any money or anything from this, so this is just just putting it out there. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of feedback or a thumbs up.
Yeah, all feedback is good feedback. All right. Yeah. So till next time, see you in a new environment.
All right. Good luck.
Yes, and goodbye.
Adios.